After my husband left me, I found a note on the table that said, "I can't live with a woman who doesn't trust me." Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. The morning light came through the curtains the way it always did, soft and golden, painting stripes across the hardwood floor. I opened my eyes slowly, expecting to see the familiar shape of his body beside me, the rise and fall of his breathing, the way his hair always stuck up on one side. Instead, there was nothing. Just an expanse of white sheet, cold and undisturbed. I lay there for a moment, listening. The house was too quiet. There was no sound of the shower running, no distant clatter of dishes in the kitchen, no low hum of his voice as he talked to himself while making coffee. Just silence, thick and heavy, pressing down on me like a weight. I sat up, pulling the blanket around my shoulders. The bedroom looked different somehow, though nothing had changed. The dresser with its scattered bottles of cologne and loose change. The chair in the corner with his jacket draped over it. The photograph on the nightstand of us on our wedding day, both of us laughing at something I could no longer remember. My feet touched the cold floor, and I stood, moving through the room like a ghost. His side of the closet was still full. His shoes were lined up neatly by the door. Everything looked normal, but something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones, in the hollow space beneath my ribs. I walked down the hallway, my hand trailing along the wall. The bathroom door was open, the mirror clear, no steam, no damp towels. The kitchen was empty. His coffee cup sat on the counter, half full, the liquid inside long since gone cold. I touched it with my fingertips. It was ice cold, hours old. That was when I saw it. A piece of paper, folded once, sitting in the center of the kitchen table. My name was written on the outside in his handwriting, the letters careful and deliberate. I picked it up slowly, my hands beginning to shake before I even opened it. The paper crinkled as I unfolded it, and there, in the same careful script, were the words that would change everything. I can't live with a woman who doesn't trust me. I read it once, then again, and again. The letters blurred together, my vision going hazy at the edges. I sank into the chair, still holding the note, still staring at those words, as if they might rearrange themselves into something different, something that made sense. He was gone. Not gone to work. Not gone to the gym or the hardware store or his mother's house. Gone, left. Without a conversation, without a fight, without even the courtesy of saying it to my face. The note trembled in my hands. I set it down on the table, smoothing it out with my palm, and then I just sat there, breathing, trying to understand. Trust. He said I didn't trust him. And the terrible thing was, he was right. I hadn't trusted him. Not for months. Maybe longer. But how could I? I closed my eyes and let myself remember. Not the end. Not the suspicion, and the late nights, and the distance that had grown between us like a wall. I let myself remember the beginning. We met at a bookstore. How ridiculously cliché, how perfectly ordinary. I was looking for a copy of something I can't even remember now, standing in the fiction section, my finger running along the spines. He reached for the same book I did, and our hands touched. We both laughed, both pulled back. Both apologized at the same time. He had kind eyes. That was the first thing I noticed. Warm and brown, with little crinkles at the corners when he smiled. He told me to take the book. I told him no, he saw it first. We stood there in that narrow aisle, arguing politely over a paperback neither of us really wanted, until finally he suggested we flip a coin. I won the toss. He asked if he could buy me coffee instead. We sat in the cafe attached to the bookstore for 3 hours. 3 hours of talking, of laughing, of discovering all the small ways we fit together. He was a teacher, 5th grade. He loved his students with a fierce devotion that made my heart ache. He told me about the boy in his class who couldn't read, and how he had stayed after school every day for months until the boy could finally sound out words on his own. He talked about his family, his ridiculous collection of vinyl records, his dream of building a house someday with his own hands. I told him about my work, my fear of failure, the way I still called my mother every Sunday, even though our conversations were stilted and uncomfortable. I told him things I had never told anyone, and he listened like every word mattered. When we finally left, the sun was setting, and he walked me to my car. He didn't try to kiss me. He just asked if he could see me again. And I said yes. The months that followed were the happiest of my life. Every moment with him felt like coming home. We went on long drives to nowhere, spent weekends exploring flea markets and antique shops, stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. He made me laugh in a way I hadn't in years. He made me feel seen. 6 months after we met, he proposed. We were at the beach, watching the sunset, and he just turned to me and said it. No grand gesture, no elaborate plan, just, "Will you marry me? Because I can't imagine my life without you." I said yes before he even finished the sentence. Our wedding was small, just family and close friends. We wrote our own vows. I remember standing there, looking into his eyes, promising to love him through everything, through joy and sorrow, through sickness and health, through all the unknowns that lay ahead. I meant every word. For the first year of our marriage, nothing changed. We were still us, still laughing, still talking until the early hours of the morning, still reaching for each other in the darkness. He would leave notes for me around the house, little messages tucked into my coat pocket, or slipped between the pages of the book I was reading. Thinking of you. You're beautiful. Come home soon. I kept every single one. But then, slowly, things began to shift. It started small. Nights when he said he was staying late at school for parent-teacher conferences. But when I called the school, they told me conferences had ended hours ago. Weekends when he said he was going to help his brother with a project. But his brother mentioned casually that he hadn't seen him in weeks. Little inconsistencies. Tiny lies. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid, that he was just busy, distracted, stressed. But then there was the phone. He had always been casual with his phone, leaving it on the counter, unlocked, screen up. But suddenly it was face down, always. And he took it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. One night, it buzzed on the nightstand while he was in the shower. I glanced at it, not even meaning to pry, and saw a name I didn't recognize. Emma. The message preview was innocuous. Can't wait for tomorrow. I stared at it until the screen went dark. When he came out of the bathroom, I asked him who Emma was. He barely looked up from toweling his hair. A colleague, new teacher at school. Why? She texted you. Oh, yeah. She probably has a question about the curriculum. I'll check it later. He said it so easily, so casually, and I wanted to believe him. I did believe him, or at least I tried to. But the doubt had already planted itself. After that, I started paying attention. I noticed the way he angled his phone away from me when he was texting, the way he would silence calls and say it was just spam, or his mother, or a robocall. The way he started working late more often, coming home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. I confronted him once. Just once, about 2 months before he left. Are you seeing someone else? We were in the kitchen. He was making dinner, chopping vegetables with methodical precision. He stopped, the knife hovering above the cutting board, and looked at me like I had slapped him. What? No. Why would you even ask that? You've been distant. You're always on your phone. You're never here anymore, even when you're here. He put the knife down, wiping his hands on a towel, and came over to me. He took my hands in his, and his eyes were so earnest, so pained. I'm not cheating on you. I would never do that. I love you. You have to know that. Then what's going on? Why do I feel like I'm losing you? You're not losing me. I've just been stressed. Work has been insane, and I'm trying to figure some things out, but it has nothing to do with us, I promise. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe him. But promises are just words, and words can be lies. I started checking his phone when he was asleep. I hated myself for it, hated the person I was becoming, but I couldn't stop. I needed to know. I needed proof that I was wrong, or proof that I was right. Most of the time, there was nothing. Just texts from his mom, from his brother, from colleagues at school. Mundane conversations about lesson plans and grocery lists and weekend plans. But sometimes there were gaps, messages deleted, call logs erased, entire conversations missing, leaving only the ghost of their existence. And Emma. Her name kept appearing, always friendly, always professional, but there nonetheless. I asked him about her again. Tell me about the new teacher, Emma, what's she like? He shrugged. She's fine, energetic. The kids like her. Are you friends? We're colleagues. I barely know her. But his phone said otherwise. The worst part was not the lying. The worst part was the way he made me feel like I was the problem. Like my suspicion was the betrayal, not whatever he was hiding. You're being paranoid, he said one night, after I asked why he was texting so late. You're being controlling, he said when I asked where he had been. You don't trust me, he said, and the accusation hung between us like smoke. And he was right. I didn't trust him. But how could I, when everything about him had changed? I tried to talk to my friends, but I didn't know what to say. How do you explain that something is wrong without being able to point to anything concrete? How do you say your husband is slipping away when he's still there, still sleeping beside you, still kissing you goodbye in the morning? My best friend, Sarah, told me to trust my instincts. If something feels off, it probably is, she said. But instincts aren't proof, and I didn't want to be the wife who destroyed her marriage over a feeling. So I stayed silent. I watched. I waited. And all the while, the distance grew. He stopped touching me the way he used to, stopped reaching for my hand when we walked, stopped pulling me close in the middle of the night. We still had sex, but it felt mechanical, obligatory, like we were both just going through the motions. I missed him. Even though he was right there, I missed him desperately. The night before he left, we had dinner together. Takeout, eaten in front of the TV, neither of us speaking. I wanted to say something, to bridge the chasm between us, but I didn't know how. He went to bed early. I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, listening to him breathe. I thought about leaving him. I thought about staying. I thought about confronting him one more time, demanding the truth, refusing to let him deflect and dismiss. But I was so tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of doubting. Tired of feeling like I was losing my mind. I fell asleep sometime after midnight, and when I woke up, he was gone. Now I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the note, and the full weight of it was beginning to sink in. He left me. He didn't try to fix it, didn't suggest therapy, or a trial separation, or even a real conversation. He just left, and he blamed me for it. I can't live with a woman who doesn't trust me. The anger came suddenly, hot and sharp. How dare he? How dare he make this my fault? As if my lack of trust had appeared out of nowhere, as if he had done nothing to earn it. I stood up, pacing the kitchen, the note still clutched in my hand. My mind was racing, piecing together all the little lies, all the inconsistencies, all the moments when I had felt like I was going crazy. And then I stopped. His laptop. He had left it on the counter, open, the screen dark. He always took it to work. Always. Why had he left it? I moved toward it slowly, my heart pounding. I touched the trackpad, and the screen lit up. He hadn't logged out. I hesitated for only a moment before I opened his email. I told myself I was looking for closure, for confirmation, for something that would make sense of all this. What I found was so much worse. The emails to Emma went back 6 months, hundreds of them. Not about work, Not about curriculum or lesson plans or anything remotely professional. They were love letters. I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was perfect. I wish we didn't have to hide. I know this is complicated, but I've never felt this way before. I scrolled through them, my hands shaking, my vision blurring. There were plans to meet, hotels, weekends away when he had told me he was visiting his brother or attending a conference. There were photos. Her smiling at the camera, lying in a bed I didn't recognize. Him, shirtless, grinning, looking happier than I had seen him in months. There were promises. I'm going to tell her soon. I just need to find the right time. She's already suspicious. I think she's checking my phone. I'm tired of lying. I want to be with you, completely. No more hiding. The last email was from 2 days ago. I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave her. I can't keep living like this. I closed the laptop slowly, carefully, as if it might explode. He hadn't left because I didn't trust him. He had left because he was cheating on me, and I was getting too close to the truth. The note wasn't an explanation. It was a weapon. A way to make me the villain, to rewrite the story so that he was the victim, and I was the one who destroyed everything. I sank back into the chair, and for a long time, I just sat there, staring at nothing. I should have felt devastated, shattered. But instead, I felt something else. Clarity. All those months of doubting myself, of wondering if I was imagining things, of feeling like I was going insane. None of it had been in my head. I had been right. My instincts had been screaming at me, and I had ignored them because I didn't want to believe the person I loved could do this to me. But he had. He had lied to my face, over and over. He had gaslit me, made me feel like my suspicion was the problem. And then, when I finally started to see through the lies, he left, and he blamed me. I picked up the note again, reading it one more time. I can't live with a woman who doesn't trust me. No. He couldn't live with a woman who was about to discover the truth. I stood up, walking to the drawer where I kept matches. I pulled one out, struck it, and held it to the corner of the note. The paper caught quickly, the edges curling and blackening, the words disappearing into ash. I held it until the flame got too close to my fingers, then dropped it into the sink, watching it burn down to nothing. I turned on the tap, washing the ashes away. Then I went upstairs and started packing. I didn't pack everything, just the essentials. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, the few things that really mattered. I left the rest, let him deal with it, let him come back to this house, this life, and figure out what to do with all the pieces. I loaded everything into my car, and then I came back inside one last time. I walked through the room slowly, saying goodbye to the life I thought I had. The photographs on the walls, the furniture we had picked out together, the little touches that had made this place ours, but it had never really been ours. Not for a long time. I stopped in the kitchen, looking at the table where the note had been. I pulled out a piece of paper and a pen. I hesitated for a moment, thinking about what to say. There was so much I could write. So much anger, so much hurt, so many accusations. But in the end, I kept it simple. I can't live with a man who made me stop trusting. I left it on the table, in the exact spot where his note had been. Then I walked out the door, got in my car, and drove away. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have a plan. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The morning sun was bright, the sky clear and blue. I rolled down the windows, letting the wind whip through my hair, and I drove. Away from him, away from the lies, away from the woman I had become, small and doubting and afraid. I didn't know what came next. I didn't know how to rebuild a life from the ruins of this one. I didn't know if I would ever trust anyone again, or if this would leave a scar that never fully healed. But I knew one thing. I was done being blamed for someone else's betrayal. I was done shrinking myself to fit into a love that was never real. I was done. And that, at least, was a beginning.